I never thought much about the trading center. To me, it was just a noisy place where bodas roared, where women haggled over tomatoes, and where gossip traveled faster than wind. But that day, something different happened. The woman who had once pitied me, the one who bought vegetables near my spot, called me over. I thought she only wanted me to hold her bag or help her with a basket. But she looked at me closely and said, "You're a hard worker. Would you consider coming to the town to help in a family shop?" I froze. For a long moment, I thought she was mocking me. Me, the girl everyone said had thrown her life away. The girl with the black-skinned child whose father was a madman. But her face was serious. She even touched my arm gently, as though she could feel the doubt burning inside me. That night I didn't sleep. I watched my son breathing softly beside me, his thin blanket barely covering his legs. My heart was fighting itself. Part of me wanted to say yes immediately, but another part whispered of my grandmother's cruel words, "You and that boy are a burden. You'll never be anything." I thought about food. About school fees. About the endless cycle of shame. And then I thought about my son's eyes, how they lit up when he laughed. Maybe this chance was not for me. Maybe it was for him. The next day I returned to the trading center and found the woman again. I asked her questions, about the job, about pay, about where I would sleep. She explained it simply. I would help in her sister's shop in town. The pay was small, but it was regular. Regular. In my world, regular money was like a miracle. But then came the real problem, my son. Who would watch him? My grandmother had made it clear she wanted nothing to do with him. My siblings were still in school. I couldn't leave him behind. I told the woman my fear, and she thought for a long while. Finally she said, "Bring him. My sister's house is big. He can stay with you." I wanted to cry right there in the marketplace. But I didn't. I only nodded and whispered, "Thank you." The week before leaving was the hardest. My grandmother's silence cut me sharper than words. She didn't bless me, didn't advise me, didn't even ask where I was going. She only looked at me like I was walking into more shame. My uncle slipped me a few coins for the journey, muttering that at least I was trying. On the morning of our departure, I held my son's hand tightly as we climbed into the back of a lorry that carried sacks of maize. Dust rose around us, the engine coughed, and the village grew smaller and smaller behind me. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The town was louder, brighter, and harsher than I had imagined. Tall buildings leaned over narrow roads, and people rushed everywhere with faces full of purpose. I felt small, lost, and overwhelmed. But my son squeezed my hand and smiled, as if to remind me we were in this together. That evening, when I stood inside the shop for the first time, rows of goods neatly stacked, customers flowing in and out, I felt something stir in me. A kind of nervous excitement. Maybe, just maybe, this was where a new chapter would begin. I was no longer just the girl abandoned at her grandmother's, the girl who made one mistake. I was now a worker, a provider. And for the first time in many years, I allowed myself to imagine something I had almost forgotten, the future.